All right, let's get right into it. Today we're going to talk about something that drives a lot of us crazy, trying to meditate when your brain just refuses to be quiet. We're going to walk through a really practical, kind of surprising guide to actually finding that inner stillness. So let's do this.
So yeah, the million-dollar question. Why is it so hard to just sit still and think about, well, nothing? You close your eyes, you take a deep breath, and bam, your brain's to-do list just explodes. You're thinking about that email you forgot to send, what you're going to make for dinner, or that cringy thing you said back in 2012. You know what I'm talking about. It's a huge frustration, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
I love this term that the source for this explainer came up with, the luxury of belief. Basically, it's the idea of having all these really strong philosophical opinions about spiritual stuff without ever, actually doing it. It's like being a world-class armchair quarterback for enlightenment. It's easy to talk the talk, but the real growth happens when you get in the game.
And this whole luxury of belief thing, it leads to a really common mistake. We try to approach meditation with sheer brute force. We sit down and we're like, okay, brain, shut up. And we try to wrestle our thoughts into silence. But here's the thing, that almost never works. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the more aggressively it pops back up. So the guy whose journey we're following, he was the king of this, a total armchair strategist. In his mind, all those rituals you see, the chanting, the incense, the offerings, that was all just fluff. Drama for people who weren't strong enough to just quiet their minds directly. He thought the real path was pure intellectual muscle.
So what could possibly change a mind that's set in its ways? Well, life has a funny way of throwing you a curveball. He got assigned to work in a temple. This wasn't some spiritual quest he chose, it was literally his job. So this skeptic was basically forced into an experiment, making him do the very things he'd always dismissed. And that's where everything started to change.
And this experience just completely flipped his worldview on its head. He went from thinking, this is so pointless, a robot could do this, to realizing, whoa, this is actually a genius system for training the mind. He saw that the rituals weren't a distraction from focus, they were the warm-up for it.
Now look, this wasn't an overnight thing. He fought it. Every day, while he's grinding sandalwood or arranging flowers, his brain is just screaming at him, this is so dumb. But then, something started to happen. He slowly realized that the intense focus he needed for these simple physical tasks was actually making his mind quiet. Really quiet. In a way that just trying to force it never ever could.
And this right here is the big idea. This is the whole key. The path to a truly quiet mind isn't a light switch you can just flip off. Nope. It's more like a dimmer switch. You start with the lights on full bright, fully engaging with the world. And then you slowly, gently turn them down.
And what's so cool is that there's actual psychology behind this. It's not just mystical stuff. Think back to school, right? When you're just listening to a boring lecture, you zone out in 5 minutes. But when you do a hands-on science experiment, you're locked in. Your hands, your eyes, everything is engaged. Rituals work on the exact same principle. They're like a hands-on activity for your mind.
So, this idea gets broken down into a super clear 4-step process. Think of it like walking down a set of stairs into a quiet room. You start at the top with worship, or puja, where all your senses are firing. You're touching things, seeing things, smelling things. Then you take a step down to reading aloud, fewer senses involved. Another step down to chanting, or japa, even quieter, more internal. And only then, at the very bottom, do you enter that final, silent room of meditation.
There's this beautiful quote from the source that just nails it perfectly. It says, the world of sadhana, which is really just a word for your own personal spiritual practice, is nothing but the retreat of the senses. See, it's not a battle, it's a retreat. You're not fighting your senses off, you're just gently guiding them from the loud outside world to the quiet inside.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. This sounds great for a monk in a temple, but I've got a job, kids, and laundry. I get it. So let's bring this whole philosophy down to earth. How can you actually do this at home, in your real life?
And the very first thing to get is this. You do not need a fancy setup. Seriously, this is not about building an elaborate altar in your living room. It's all about the process, not the props. It's about following the steps, using whatever simple things you have around you.
So here's what it could look like. Find a little window of time once a week. Go to a quiet corner. Start with that physical, sensory thing. Light a candle, arrange a single flower, whatever. Then read something that means something to you out loud. Then maybe repeat a simple phrase or mantra, just for a minute or two. And then, only after that gentle warm-up, do you sit for your silent meditation. You will be amazed at how much more settled your brain feels.
And please remember this. The goal is not perfection. It's all about presence. If you don't have 2 hours, no problem. Do a 20-minute version. Just shorten each little step. The secret sauce here is following the sequence and bringing your full attention to it, not how much time you clock.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. We usually think of meditation as building a big wall to keep the noisy world out. But what if we've got that completely backwards? What if the real path to inner silence begins not by shutting the world out, but by first welcoming it in with purpose, and then very gently showing it the door?